It's Shark Week, and I don't want to say funny, but the irony of Shark Week every year, there just always seems to be more shark-related stories in the news. I don't know if Discovery has got the market on the news like a week prior or what, but one of the shows, one of the hosts this week on Discovery for Shark Week is explorer, adventurer, wildlife biologist. You know, a million different times if you watch any of these types of shows, in which we do. Forrest Galante, who is sporting his official Shark Week shirt as we see it here on our video, right?
That's right, Jason. I sure am. It's my Shark Week shirt, man. It's Shark Week. I don't have a lot of shark printed clothing, so I got to wear the one and only.
I was like, man, this guy, he's got to be making more money than just owning one shirt. When I was doing my research, you know, I'm going and watching these different interviews. You're like on Good Morning Sacramento. I'm like he's wearing the same shirt. Like, this is so cool. He's got the same shirt. That's all the guy wears is this one shirt.
I'm a one-trick pony, Jason. I'm a one-shirt guy. You know, Discovery is not paying the bills these days, so I'm wearing what I can afford out here.
So you know, one of your things is as an explorer, an adventurer, and a biologist is you like to find animals that you thought were extinct at one point. And you've done that numerous times with different animals, which is way cool. So for Shark Week, you know, Tuesday and Wednesday, Tuesday, Extinct or Alive Jaws of Alaska, which will premiere at 7 p. East on Discovery. Also, let's not forget Discovery Plus, the app for us cord cutters. You know, we watch on Discovery Plus. And then on Wednesday, the 27th here of July, Island of Walking Sharks, which we'll get to here in just a second because that's scarier than all hell. But the Extinct or Alive Jaws of Alaska, run us through that.
Yeah, with pleasure. So, you know, there has just like you said, there seems to be an uptick in media-related shark attacks during the summer and Shark Week. There has been an uptick in marine mammal attacks up in Alaska. So my team and I head up to Alaska to literally dive beneath the ice to see if we can figure out who is responsible for all of these marine mammal attacks. And we know it's not orcas. White sharks aren't supposed to be up there. So we really dig into the science of some of these Arctic sharks to figure out what's going on, who's doing what. And it is a frigid and bone-chilling and very fun experience.
So you're in the water with these things.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. It's hard to do Shark Week and stay dry.
That's nuts. To go. I mean, I have a buddy that actually went and swam with great white sharks. I said, what were you thinking? And he said, you have no idea the experience. It's so exhilarating, you know? And I'm like, yeah, because you're scared to death that the thing's going to go through the cage. And he's like, absolutely. But, you know, you see this, I don't know if it's a migration of these great white sharks from up in the Cape Cod area down the East Coast, North Carolina off the coast there. They're seeing a lot of great white sharks and eventually getting down to the shark capital, which would be Florida, mine and Nate's old state. Is that the progression? And every year, does it get worse or different, I should say?
No. And I think that, you know, Jason, I think that that's one of the problems with sort of that sensationalized media is this idea that like shark attacks are on the rise. They're not. You know, it's midsummer. It's hot out. We're going to the beach. People are going in the ocean. And anytime more people are in the water, you're more likely to have a human wildlife shark encounter. You know, it's weird how you don't read about a bunch of shark attacks in Cape Cod in February, right? Well, guess who's in the water in February? Nobody. So it's not that shark attacks are on the rise or sharks are here to get us. It's summertime. People are in the water. The sharks are hunting in shallows because the water's warmer and there's more fish. And that sort of confluence of conditions just leads to human wildlife interaction. And most of those interactions go without humans ever even realizing they've happened, right? Sharks will swim right by people's legs, right next to them. For probably every one little like bump or nip, there's probably 10,000 that we don't even know have happened. And it's just an accident or a little mistake when somebody seems to get bitten or bumped, and we blow it up.
But the great white shark is a predator. I mean, it is. Tell me if I'm wrong here. I mean, you're the expert, but isn't that one of just a handful of animals that will attack a human being for no reason whatsoever?
Well, not for no reason whatsoever. You are right. I mean, white sharks are an apex predator. They're at the top of the food chain. They are incredibly dangerous animals. I don't want to undersell that. But they have absolutely no interest in you or me or anybody that's swimming in the ocean. They're out there looking for fish, looking for seals and sea lions. And when they do bite somebody, it's a mistake. Now, because of their absolutely awesome size and power, sometimes those investigatory bites, those nips where they come up and take a chunk to see if this is food, end up being fatal because, they're 20 feet long and they have these huge jaws and these razor sharp teeth. But they're not out to get us. I want to be very clear about that. They're not here hunting people or surfers or swimmers. They're hunting seals and sea lions and fish and making the occasional mistake.
Who more attacks with sharks or alligators? Do you know?
I'm with alligators specifically, it would be sharks. With crocodiles, would be higher. All crocodilians, crocodiles and alligators wrapped into one, it would be crocodiles higher than sharks.
Is that because of some of these other countries and people out there, fishing or poverty kind of stricken, and they're out in the water and they just get eaten by the crocs?
Oh, Jason, last year I was in Mozambique and I caught this 17-foot crocodile. They'd eaten 10 people in a month. And we had to catch this croc and move him away from this village because crocodiles, there are really only a handful of animals: tigers, crocs, polar bears. I think that's the only three that will actively hunt human beings. And sharks are not on that list. You'll hear I didn't mention sharks. And so this crocodile had figured out, now again, it was a confluence of conditions. This was a crocodile that was living in an area that was overfished. There wasn't a lot of resources for it. It had been overhunted by the local population. And so this crocodile went, I'm hungry. There's people right there and they're on the menu. And so this individual animal on my show, Mysterious Creatures, had hunted down 10 different people over the course of a month or 2 months. I forget the exact timeline. And so we went over there and caught this croc and put a GPS tracker on him and moved him very, very far away from that community. But yeah, no, people are fishing, they're living by the water, and a croc's a croc.
So you didn't open him up, obviously, if you put a GPS tracker. So how did you know he was the croc?
It was pretty obvious. He was the only one hanging around the village. He was much larger than any of the other crocodiles in the area. He was there's a scene that you can see in my show if you watch it where I put out this piece of hippo meat and build this blind and this decoy, and there's like a couple crocs feeding, and then this guy comes in and all the other crocs are like, F that, they back right up, and it's like he's clearly just the alpha in that area. Like it was very, very clear who the boss was.
So you have the Extinct or Alive Jaws of Alaska, which
Yeah.
is going to be tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
And then Wednesday, the Island of Walking Sharks. So I started reading up on this
Sure.
and I see this trailer, this video footage of a shark, not a large shark, just a little shark. But the damn thing is, it's not walking like on two legs, but using its fins to move around land or rock or whatever it's in, which is kind of trippy. I mean, the title's, I think, a little bit more sensationalized than what it is, which is great because I know that's how the internet works.
That's how we get people to watch. Yeah, I mean, that's part of, I'm part of the problem over here. I'm sensationalizing media so that you'll tune in. But at least when I do it, I'm trying to tell you the sharks are good and we love them and they're cute and cuddly. Anyway, regardless of that, yeah, so Island of the Walking Sharks is this adventure to Papua New Guinea where three relatively recently described species of epaulets, these walking carpet sharks, are using their pectoral and pelvic fins to walk around the sea floor, and they choose to do that over swimming. But, and this is the big factor here, it's never been proven by science, it's never been video documented that these sharks are actually leaving the water to walk on land in Papua New Guinea and hunt down, small fish and crustaceans in tide pools. And so my team and I went there with this objective, can we find out whether or not these animals are exhibiting this behavior? And the truth is, it's not that it's such a rare or unique behavior. It's about conditions. It's about tidal situation. It's about the fact that Papua New Guinea has a violent history, is incredibly geographically difficult to operate in, is remote. It's a criminally understudied place. And so my team and I specialize in difficult situations with wildlife like this. Went in there hoping to capture this footage, and as you explained, we got to see it. I mean, it was amazing.
It's trippy. I mean, really, really trippy because you're sitting there, you're going, At least this is the vibe that I got. You go, okay, because a lot of animals have morphed into something because of their surrounding conditions.
Right.
Right? So this shark is learning to get from point A to point B by using his fins
Right.
to, as quote unquote, walk on land. That's fascinating. Absolutely fascinating to watch animals morph like that.
And do keep in mind, I don't want people at home thinking like, oh, I got to lock the kids up, right? Because the sharks are starting to walk. This has taken 9 million years for these sharks that are this big, that are pretty low down on the food chain, to figure out how to do this behavior. And what's pretty interesting, Jason, you might like this tidbit, is that little silver lining to climate change here, right? These sharks are so adapted for anoxic, low oxygen environments, for super high heat and stress, because they're able to leave the water, and they've been doing it slowly over 9 million years, that during this sort of era of climate change where things are shifting, and habitats and ecosystems and temperatures are in a state of flux, these animals are actually thriving. Their range is expanding. We redefined the range of one of these species on our expedition, and they're doing really well because they thrive when it's hot, and the conditions are rough, and it's amazing.
So keep killing the planet, you planet killers, you
That's it. Yep,
non-believers.
that's it. Nobody recycle. Get out there, drive your car, don't ride a bike, throw a straw in the ocean. Let's go.
Yeah. And if you see a great white shark one day walking down the street, it's because of you. That's
That's
why. All right.
right.
I
Yes,
was
there's a sound bite that somebody can grab and just really kill me right there, but that's okay. We'll let it ride.
I was telling these guys I rented this movie, or I bought the movie after reading about it for whatever reason on Amazon Prime, and it's about the USS Indianapolis, and it's called USS Indianapolis Men of Courage, stars Nick Cage, got Tom Sizemore in it, Thomas Jane. I drink for being stupid, and I can consider myself a pretty decent historian, but I had no idea about the story of the USS Indianapolis, of it taking the atomic bomb over, and it was a special, merchant ship, a cargo ship, and then was sunk. But these soldiers, these sailors, after getting shot and their boat sank by the Japanese, are in the water, and then like hundreds of them died because of these sharks.
300. Yeah, 300 soldiers.
300 soldiers in the water were just, sitting ducks, and
Yep.
these sharks were just taking them out. What type of sharks were those?
So those were believed to be, and relatively confirmed, that it was oceanic white tips, which are large pelagic transient sharks that are very, very opportunistic feeders, and they're quite aggressive. I mean, I've been in the water with them a couple different times, and yeah. So like you said, the USS Indianapolis set out, it sank, and when it sank, that creates a whole lot of sound and noise and acts as an attractant. The open ocean is a desert, Jason. There is not much out there, right? People like to think you go out into the open ocean. I'm not talking about the coral reefs and the coastal ocean. I'm talking about the open ocean. It is a desert. There is nothing for many, many miles around. And so when something happens, when there's an event like a ship sinking or an explosion or anything like that, it draws in the attention of the creatures from far and wide, because it is such a desert, and it's interesting to see what's going on. And so anyway, USS Indianapolis went down. 300 men were in the water, and over the course of a night, 300 people were attacked and pretty much ripped to shreds by these sharks. Now, I'm not telling you this to fearmonger. What I'd like to explain is that those animals likely went into a state of frenzy, something that we call henhouse syndrome in the scientific world. And the idea is, think of a fox that gets into a chicken coop or a hen house. It's so surrounded by bait that its predator brain takes over its intellectual brain, and it goes, I need to kill, I need to eat, and it can't really slow itself down. Now, that fox may do that for 5 or 10 of your 50 chickens, but if you've got 5 foxes doing that and they're all competing with each other, then you just sort of get into this frenzied whirlwind state where nothing slows down. And so the belief is, with the USS Indianapolis sinking, in came some oceanic white tips. People started to panic. 1 or 2 took a nibble, took a bite, and then there was this massive panic, blood in the water, screaming, chaos, and that led to this frenzied state. Because if you act like prey, Jason, this is a good tip for anybody that ever encounters a shark. If you act like prey, animals are going to treat you like prey. Okay, so if you start panicking and freaking out and shrieking, you're going to have a negative interaction because there goes the shark with its predator brain going, oh, this thing's scared of me. It must be food. And so, what happened was in a single night, 300 people were eaten by these oceanic whitetips.
That's crazy. Have you ever been in the water and had to change your, your mindset and go, I'm not prey. It's just me versus this shark. I've got to, stand down, shark, stand down and do
Oh,
something like
many
that.
times, many times. I will come on here and confidently say that if I hadn't fought the mental urge to run from a couple situations, I'm sure I would have died by now because I've had tiger sharks come on full speed trying to attack me, and your gut instinct is like back up, like get away, and you have to fight every urge to do that and swim right at them aggressively and push them against the nose and say, "Hey, I'm the boss here. You're not here to eat me. Like, back off." And it's a hard thing to train yourself to do. And I remember very, very distinctly the first time that I ever had to do that in a tough situation. And it took every ounce of my being to turn towards the shark instead of run away from it.
I bet you that gets confusing and real. Are you married? You married
I
guy?
am. I am. Yeah.
I bet you take that same attitude with your wife. It probably doesn't work as well, huh?
Yeah, it's weird when I push her on the nose because dinner's not ready. She just gets mad at me. I can't figure out why. Yeah,
She's like, I'm the apex predator in this house.
that's right. Yeah.
Nate, you got a question for Forrest?
Yeah, I know you're on Naked and Afraid, and I've always wondered on that show, like, what was the worst part of the show? Like, are you just getting eat up by bugs? Is it worrying about getting a boner? Like, what was the worst part about being in the wild naked?
Yeah, good question. It's definitely not the boner, man. It's pretty disgusting. Like, it doesn't matter how hot your partner is, you're pretty over it after like 30 seconds. But it's 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 just the exposure. It's just the constant, like, I mean, imagine just sitting even in your room there with your shirt and pants off all day. You'd be like, all right, like my nipples are tired of this air, like I had enough. And that's kind of what happens on Naked Afraid. It's just the constant exposure, whether it's sun, heat, wind, cold. Cold is a big factor regardless of where you are. And not having that first line of defense, that clothing, that first shelter on you, it sucks. So yeah, for me, it's just that first, just that relentless exposure that was just like pretty annoying.
That's how it all started for you, right? When you went on Naked and Afraid, and then you got this huge survival rating, and then you ended up becoming the Forrest Galante that you are today, right?
I mean, yes and no. I certainly don't want to discredit my 5 seconds of fame that came from Naked and Afraid that helped launch this full-fledged career. But I was a wildlife biologist long before Naked and Afraid. I was an academic. I was very well studied in the field of biology, and I was already actively pursuing a career. I was a biologist. I wasn't pursuing a career in biology. I was a biologist, and I was doing my very best to communicate passion and love of wildlife. And then when Naked and Afraid happened, this is kind of a fun story for you, Jason and Nate. I was working full time as a biologist. I was working on the California Channel Islands, which are right over there, and I thought like I was making a difference. Right? I was publishing papers. I was grinding hard, and I published a paper. It took about 2 years to come out, and when that paper came out, it got 400 reads. Okay, 400 reads by like-minded scientists who already knew the subject matter. And that's a good number, by the way, for the scientific world. Okay, when my Naked and Afraid episode aired, 4 million people saw me jiggling my junk around. All right, and I right then and there, I was like, "There's a big difference between 400 and 4 million." And that was the very night I called my boss. I quit my job as a biologist on the islands. I told my wife, I have to figure out how to communicate the thing that I'm passionate about, which is not running around the jungle naked. It's conservation and wildlife with this big audience. And so that was the decision that was made right then and there. And it took 3.5 years from that night of grinding and living on my wife's part-time teacher salary and doing everything I could to get a wildlife show on television.
That's fantastic. That's such a great story.
Thank you.
I got another Naked and Afraid question. When the beginning of the show, they have the guy and they get on the truck or whatever, they drop off, and then the female drop. like, what was your mindset? You're like, okay, I'm not going to stare at her boobs. I'm not going to stare down below the waist. I'm going to stare at her eyes and just pretend like she had clothes on.
Polar opposite. I'm like, I'm gonna lay it all out on the line. You know, I got nothing to hide. I'm not gonna be, because they're, I don't know if you've seen that show, man. 99% of the people, and I haven't watched it in a while, but they're awkward and they do this like butt out hug and like, hey, like high five while I cover my genitals. I'm like, no, 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 no. That's not me. That's not me. I'm gonna go hard the other way. So I came out full party boy, just like just jiggling it, laying it all on the line. That reception was cold. That was met with crickets. But regardless, I was like, you know what? I'm putting it out there. I'm not hiding. I'm going to check her out head to toe. You know, I got nowhere to hide anything. So if something happens, it happens. I'm just going to let that flag fly. And fortunately, nothing of that sort popped up, pun intended. And we were good. But yeah, you know, I wasn't going to hide anything.
That's fantastic. Brandon, do you have a question for Forrest?
Yeah, so that's pretty cool. The sharks are like starting to walk on land. Is there another evolutionary trait like with an animal? You're just like, holy shit, I can't believe this animal went from this and now it can do that.
Yeah, Brandon, you know, it's what's so amazing about.
You got muted. Your computer doesn't want you to tell us what you're telling us.
I'm so sorry, guys. My kid just ran into the room with his pet chicken. Yeah, sorry about that.
All
He's
good.
got a baby chicken. It's like a whole thing. Look, to answer your question, I don't know if you want to ask it over or not.
No, go ahead.
Forget it.
No, go ahead.
Okay, but to answer your question, sharks are incredible, right? And so is all wildlife, and so much of it is evolving and changing. And rather, our understanding of these organisms is incredibly limited. So I'm giving you a very broad answer, but you know, there are sharks that can fly. You know, these sharks that jump out of the water. There are sharks that can walk on land. There are sharks that see in spectrums of color that we don't even understand. Okay, there are sharks that reproduce completely asexually. They never need to have sex. They can create a clone of themselves. There are sharks that can have sex and retain that sperm for years and just make offspring after offspring after offspring without mating again. And the list just goes on and on and on. I mean, they're just fascinating animals. Brandon, they've been on this planet for longer than trees. Okay, think about that. Like, these are old creatures and they are fantastic.
Is there a shark species from the prehistoric era, like the megalodon, that do you think that still exists?
No, you know, I'm not big at the whole like Bigfoot, tinfoil hat, Loch Ness monster kind of thing. I'm really not. So you know, there are sharks that are millions of years old that are still around today, and the reason is they sort of reach their pinnacle of necessity to evolve. Like, they're perfect. So it's like, why change? It's like crocodiles, right? We were talking about crocodiles before. They haven't changed for like 160 million years. They don't need to. They're perfect. Like, they do everything they need to in their environment. They can go months without food. They can sleep when they can't find food. They can kill at will. I mean, they can store. Like, they're amazing. And there are shark species, you know, and the list is long. There's like 1,000 shark species that we know about nowadays. And so there are shark species that are like that. They just haven't changed for millions of years because they don't need to. So that's, I guess that's my way of saying to you, like, there aren't these like crazy dinosaur sharks running around because or there aren't these missing dinosaur sharks that we don't know about because sort of all sharks are like that.
Yeah, but there's species. I mean, again, you're the pro at this, is finding species that we thought were extinct. And you know, I remember as a kid, we used to read this thing called a weekly reader, and there was a story about how at the bottom, the depths of the ocean that we haven't discovered, which is plenty of that out there, that there were prehistoric animals that still lived there.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget reading that, and I believed it. You know, I mean, for like, I'm 47, so like 40 some years. You know, I'm going, it's possible.
Well, let me explain this, Jason, and this is what's so interesting. Okay, until about, I want to say 25 years ago, and don't quote me on that, our entire understanding of life was based around energy from the sun. Okay, we believe that all life required energy from the sun. That is the sparker, the igniter that created life. Regardless of whether you're a deep sea creature or not, that life was founded by sun energy. And what I mean by that is those animals would conduct a vertical migration, or food would fall from the surface, which was based around the light and based around the sun. And so those deep sea creatures could eat it. And 25 or so years ago, we figured out that deep down in the bottom of the ocean, there are these hydrothermal vents where heat is created by volcanic activity. And there are entire ecosystems down there, not single creatures, full ecosystems with hundreds of creatures, hundreds of species that can exist based on the energy put out from hydrothermal vents and volcanic activity. Till 25 years ago, we didn't even know that that was possible. We're like, oh, all life is based because of the sun. And now we're like, oh, well, turns out there's like entire giant ecosystems of life under the ocean founded by volcanic activity. So, that's just like a little look into how little we actually know about life as we think we know about it.
So you're saying that the idea that there's another civilization that lives in the core of the earth is possible.
It's probable is my statement. No, that's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying that it's every single year, every few years, we completely change what we think we know about the world and life and science and everything else. And science is an ongoing learning and understanding, an evolution of ideas and concepts, right? It's not a static thing. And so what's awesome about my job and people like myself is that we get to contribute to that.
Yeah. Is there anything that your wife has not been a big fan of you doing?
Oh man, yeah, but we're not going to get into that.
All of it?
No, yeah, no, she's no. I wouldn't say that. She's very understanding. She's extremely supportive. She hates it when I come home with a new shark bite scar and there's 12 stitches in my arm, or she hates it when she hates that I still play rugby. You want me to talk seriously with you here, Jason? She hates the fact that I still play rugby. I'm an old man now. I got tons of gray in this beard, and I'm running around out there with 22-year-olds, getting my butt kicked every Saturday that I'm at home, and then whinging about it until basically the following Saturday when I do it again. And she's like, what's the matter with you? Like, why are you still playing a full-on contact sport? You're old, you're broken, you're not even very good at it anymore. Like, what the hell are you doing? So that's my tea. Sorry. There's a lot going on here today.
By the way, you're welcome for that question, because it sounds like you've been wanting to say that for a very long time and had no.
I needed to vent. I had training last night. My shoulder's sore, but I can't say anything because I'll hear all about it. So I needed to vent. You guys are my platform this morning.
I get it, brother. I totally get it. So before we go back and then finish up with the Shark Week stuff, because there's so much more. Shark Week has become Americana. It's tradition. You have to watch it.
Yeah.
I want to visit in detail some of the animals that you've successfully, you've captured it on camera. You've got this that we as a society thought that they were gone, but you have been able to hunt them down. Give us some examples of some of those animals.
Yeah, my team and I were really lucky, and luck's not the right word. We put in so many hours of hard work, and 2 years ago, I think it was, I spent 300 nights in a tent, right? That's a lot of nights in a tent in a single year. And so we have uncovered the ongoing existence of 8 animals previously lost to science. 4 of those are sharks, by the way, and the other 4 are terrestrial animals. And so that includes the Zanzibar leopard, the Miller's grizzled langur, also known as the Dracula monkey, the Rio Apiporus caiman, of which we found an entire population, the Fernandina island tortoise, and then 4 very unique small shark species that were completely lost to science, one for over 130 years. And it's been amazing, and it's one of those things that once something's labeled extinct, everybody gives up, right? It's like it's gone, it's done. Like, why would it still be there? But it's sort of arrogant to assume that we have looked everywhere and we know everything and we can tell you definitively that something's gone, especially in these remote locations where science is very rarely taking place. And so, yeah, my team and I have had the good fortune of uncovering 8 different animals now.
Makes me sad to know that we're living, well, like a person can be living in this world and experience an extinction of a creature. I mean, something as silly as an article I was reading, the monarch butterfly is, I guess, on the extinction list. And, you grow up, not that I'm a big butterfly guy, but still, it's a butterfly. You think butterflies.
You strike me as a big butterfly guy. Yeah. I can imagine you at like Ultra with the wings and the little bikini. And yeah, that looks like you.
I've got tattoos of butterfly wings. So if I take my shirt off, I'm lying. You're right.
Yeah, that adds up. Yeah.
Tramp stamp.
But that's sad to me to know that, as our kids get bigger, you tell them stories of, oh, when I was a kid, there was these things called butterflies. I mean, that's so
Right.
horrible, right?
No, I mean the monarchs are in severe decline. It is sad, even just, and this is anecdotal, of course, but I have a 2.5-year-old son now, right? I live in Santa Barbara, California, beautiful place, and we have this grove of eucalyptus trees just down the road from my house. That when I was in college, early days of college, even late high school, we'd go there and see a million butterflies in the trees, the monarchs on their migration. I've taken my 2.5-year-old to that grove twice, trying to show him what I experienced, and he goes, "Look, Daddy, a butterfly." And he sees 1 to 10 butterflies, and there used to be trees just covered in them. And I know that's observational and anecdotal, but regardless, it's a sad thing to witness, and it's a sad thing to be a part of. And and by the way, just chew on this for a second, guys. 2,000 species of flora and fauna go extinct every single year at our current extinction rate. 2,000, not one or two, not like, hey, what a bummer we lost that bug. 2,000 organisms are being wiped off the face of this planet due to human activity every single year. So it's a crazy number. And, my whole thing is like, I'm going to do everything I can to slow that down, to prevent that, whether that's bring them back from extinction, put protections in place, work with human wildlife conflict, work with animals like these walking sharks, which are incredibly sort of understudied and need attention and exposure. So just do what I can.
I see a hand raised by Nate,
Yeah.
a digital emoji hand.
I've
Nate,
never seen that before. I didn't know if I was supposed to like high five the screen or what was going on there.
Yeah, Forrest, I was curious, what are your thoughts on these animals that may be extinct, using science to intervene and bring them back, like through DNA? Is that something you're against, or depending on what it is, whether if it's humans causing them to be extinct, or if it's just natural, evolution of animals being extinct?
Nate, I'm sort of in the gray on that. And what I mean by that is it's not a black and white matter. It's not a should we put in money and bring animals back or shouldn't we, right? If we as a species, human beings, have caused recent extinction events, the thylacine, for example, the passenger pigeon, the great auk, things like that, where we have actively wiped out these organisms, then I think doing our best to bring them back to repair a damaged food web or ecosystem is a good idea, because ultimately it's going to make for a healthier environment. Now, I don't think we should be Jurassic Parking at all, right? I don't think we need to have T-Rexes and woolly mammoths running around. I don't agree with that. And the problem with this science is it's kind of like, where does it end, right? Once we go, yeah, cool, like we can bring this critter back, well, then why wouldn't we bring back a Tyrannosaurus Rex? And I mean, we've all seen the movie, so we know the implications. But my point is, like, these resources are good if they're repairing something that we've damaged, right? If we as humans have made this fatal mistake of eradicating from something from the planet, which has created a giant shift in the food web or altered the ecosystem, then yeah, we should repair that. At the same time, it's kind of like all these billionaires racing to space. It just pisses me off, because I'm like, fix what we got. Quit jumping to the next problem, right? Don't jump to the extinct animals and go, all right, I'm going to put in millions of dollars, billions of dollars of bringing them back. How about saving the rhinos, right? Like, we're in a position, and I'm not talking about like less iconic, tiny little animals. I'm talking about rhinoceros, right? Right now, if things continue the way they are, guys, I'm never going to get to show my kid what a rhinoceros looks like, okay? And that's freaking insane, to say that in this world, in this day and age. And yet we're racing to space and we're worried about bringing back dodo birds. It's like, come on, guys, like, wake up. Let's use that money the right way.
Is the rhino problem because of poachers or?
It is. Yeah, it is because of Eastern medicine and the desire for rhino horn, which of course is proven to have absolutely no medicinal effect. It's the same thing that's in our fingernails. And yeah, they're being poached to extinction.
So is there like a wildlife war in some of these countries where, like, you have one side that goes after the poachers and there's an all-out battle?
Oh yeah, big time. I mean, in Southern Africa, where I'm from, it is incredibly dangerous to be a game ranger. It's all run by, the African equivalent of cartels. It's all gang related. And the value, I mean, think about this. You're a guy who probably makes, and I'm making all these figures up, $250 a year, and a single rhino horn is worth $1 million, right? You can't even feed your family, but if you can get a rhino horn, you're retiring, right? And so it's supply and demand. The market is driven by the price of these things because they're rare and because they're illegal, and it's all like mafia affiliated and mafia run. It's incredibly dangerous. These rhino poachers have the latest and greatest spy vision equipment, tech, night vision, thermal, drones, crazy assault rifles, everything to take out poachers so that they can get their quarry. And the poachers were in a war with the game rangers, and it's just like the whole thing's just a goddamn mess.
Have you been out there and seen some of these battles?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I haven't been like on the front lines. Like I've never been in one of the shootouts, but I have good friends, Ivan Carter, to name one, a whole bunch more who have been shot, who have been through it, who have been right in the trenches on these wildlife wars. And it's crazy that we sort of just stick our head in the sand and go, yeah, I don't know, that's happening over there, whatever.
Is that mainly in Africa?
I mean, Africa is a big part of it. Asia is certainly experiencing it, but it's truly a global problem nowadays. You know, we have it right here in North America. Our freshwater turtles are being poached like crazy for the pet trade and being shipped off to Asia, which is just insane because all of a sudden there's this giant spike in keeping turtles, right? I'm talking about turtles that we see in our ponds, guys, when we like go for a jog down the street. They're disappearing because people are grabbing them and shipping them out for pets.
Really?
Crazy.
It's nuts. But then you're the crazy guy when you go, hey guys, we need to save the rhinoceros. We need to save the turtle because it just sounds silly to probably the guys in the suits and ties, right?
Yes and no. You know, I've been fortunate. I've testified in front of Congress. I've spoken at the United Nations. You know, I've attempted to have my voice heard by those guys in suits and ties. And I think it's made a difference, you know, and I'll keep doing it as long as I can, hoping that it'll make a difference. But, you know, where I think it really makes a difference is not speaking to the stuffy congressman on Capitol Hill, but rather, like, if I go into my Instagram right now, guys, and pull up my Instagram messages, since it's 8:30 in the morning, since the day started, I probably have 20 to 30 new messages from kids going, I've changed my major because of you. I'm studying biology now. I'm working at a zoo. I'm volunteering at an animal shelter. And I think that's what's going to make a difference is one, and I don't mean me, I mean when enough people decide that these problems matter and that there's a world in which we can fix it. I think once the general population grasps onto it, then we're in a good state of mind. But right now, we're sort of too self-involved and wrapped up in politics and this and that, you know, and worried about ourselves and not worried about the planet.
It's funny. You and I have so much in common. I go through my Instagram messages and I'll have maybe 5 or 6 of people saying that they're not going to get into radio or podcasting because of me.
Yeah, one of those is from me. I sent that right before the show, just so you know. Yeah.
All right. Again, so you got tomorrow, Tuesday, Extinct or Alive, Jaws of Alaska. Again, this is Discovery, 7 p.m. East. And then Wednesday, Island of Walking Sharks. Can you tell us some other things? Because isn't it like you got Shaq and The Rock? There's a lot of people involved in Shark Week this year, right?
Always. I mean, Shark Week's crazy. We got The Rock. He's the master of ceremonies, which is a new thing for Shark Week. He's sort of kicking it off 5 nights of the week. The Rock is sort of hosting Shark Week, which is really fun. Who doesn't love The Rock? You know, there's all kinds of good sharks. There's some of the staples for Shark Week, like Air Jaws and Monster Mako, and some of the stuff that people love seeing. We've got some new stuff like Pig versus Shark, an island in the Bahamas where pigs swim and sharks are coming in to eat them. Of course, my 2 shows, I always do sort of unique and different shows focusing on lesser known sharks. It's just a great week, man. It's Shark Week. It's a staple. It's been around for 34 years.
So you're saying that, what is it, Exuma, right?
Correct. Yep.
The pig. Yeah, I've been there. It's not as, by the way, if you've never been, it's not as cool as the pamphlets. Those pigs are mean.
They bite. They bite. One bit my wife right on her butt.
Yeah, that's what they do. They bite your ass, and they're not, and it's disgusting because they're going to the bathroom in the water that you're swimming in.
Kind of sloppy. Yeah, it's a bit of a mess.
It's horrible. So you're saying that now the sharks are like, oh, why aren't we going over there? The pigs are in the water. This is delicious.
You know, I'm not involved in that production, so I don't know the full details of it. But my understanding is that is the query, and they think the tiger sharks are figuring it out and going there and getting themselves a nice side of bacon.
Well, that's going to kill that tourist spot. I can tell you
Very
that.
quickly, yeah.
We go down to the Bahamas every year, and I love the water. I grew up on the water. and we'll go and we'll do snuba and we'll do snorkeling and this and this and that.
Sure.
And every year, I came face to face with a moray eel, and I'd never done that before. And I was just snorkeling, and the damn thing is just waving in the water, and he's looking at me, and of course they've got one look, that resting bitch face of
Totally.
and I'm going, and unlike the advice you gave earlier, were not to be like the prey. I was the prey, and I get
Right.
back and I start doing my flippers, and and then there's a barracuda, and then the stingrays, and all that kind of stuff. So it's pretty cool. All right,
Love it.
Forrest Galante, you're great. Thank you so much for coming on. Get you back on, talk about some more stuff when you have some time. And nothing but the best for you. Keep doing what you're doing. Save the animals, save the planet. You gotta. We're Team Galante. I'll tell you
Love
that.
it. Thank you guys. Thanks for having me.
And best of luck with Shark Week. All right, buddy. Take care. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
See ya. Hey, thanks so much, Forrest. I appreciate all that. That's great.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thanks for having me, guys. Happy to come back anytime.
I will. I got your number now, so I might be blowing you up. So
Do it.
I'm just saying.
Do it.
All
I
right.
dare you.
Please be safe, okay? When you go out
I
there.
will.
All
I
right.
will.
Bye-bye.
Forrest.
Hey, man.
See ya.